So Oliver is out of Slabside now, back in Star City, and he's suited up as the Green Arrow once more, and we finally have found out who this copycat archer is. Let's talk about Arrow Season 7, Episode 8, Unmasked. How's it going, Vigilantes? Welcome to our Arrow review and breakdown of episode 8 of season 7, Unmasked. Now, this was a good episode, but unfortunately for me, and this is just my opinion, and you guys know, like, disclaimer alert, I am a big Arrow fan. It just didn't sit with me as well as it did seem to sit with other people, and I'll get into those issues as to why. They're not groundbreaking, show-breaking issues or anything, but that doesn't negate that it's great to have Oliver back in the suit again. We got the flash forwards back. A lot of story being set up for the back half of the season. It's just, yeah, there was a couple of things I'll get to, and I would love to know if you guys kind of feel a similar way to me. So, of course, stick around for that part of the video, but let's get straight into this. So, of course, if you're brand new to this channel, why not subscribe for more Arrow videos just like this, and of course like this video if you do go on to enjoy it. So within the first minute of this episode, guys, we kind of got a half reveal of who the copycat Green Arrow was, because we were going through that kind of typical vigilante Green Arrow exercise kind of scene, but they didn't exactly give away the name of the copycat Green Arrow here, and we'll talk about that. But even so, like, I respect the strength of just going straight into this episode. Wow, this is who she is. So this is like a big reveal to the audience of everyone who thought it'd be future William traveling back in time, Roy. And I wasn't rubbing this in people's faces, because essentially, and this is why I want to give this as to one of the reasons as to why I think maybe this episode was a little bit underwhelming for me, and this could have saved it if it was brand new for me. But there were a lot of people out there, and I didn't say in any of my reviews just because I didn't want to spoil anyone, but we already knew who this copycat Green Arrow was, and I guess I'll just say the name now. It's Miko Queen. We already knew she'd be a girl. I think that was fairly obvious from some of the stunt work they've done before. Yes, they did use male stunt doubles, which is why a lot of people are thinking now is future William traveling back in time, or future Barry from the crossover going back in time. Spoiler TV, I think it was, accidentally leaked the original episode title, which was, for this episode, which was called My Name is Miko Queen, or something like that. I could be wrong. So that got out there a while back. So Oliver back in Star City getting freaked out in the shower by a shadow of Felicity, but I completely get that. What I like with what they did in this episode with Oliver Queen is that, you know, prison did somewhat change him. I think Stephen Amell talked about this. I saw him like talking on stage. I don't know where it was at, but he was saying how it did change him, and you'll see that in this episode. It's not like it changed him completely, but the examples were just like this. Like Felicity was coming up to him in the shower, and it was obviously reminding him of the Slabside shower fight scene where Diaz sent a load of people to kill him. So I like how we saw little bits of that and how he was conditioning himself to Star City once again, because he seemed quite uncomfortable throughout the episode. I like that little reference to the flash forward scenes that Oliver did about William, because they're basically referencing that Christmas vacation is when they were going to see him, and he said, oh, Christmas vacation feels like, 20 years from now. And if you didn't know already, the time jumps are indeed 20 years into the future. I guess they're not pulling William out of boarding school and they're seeing him at Christmas break, but I guess they have to think of a reason as to why William isn't in the show. So before I talk about the whole Oliver side of the episode and how he was getting back into Green Arrow gear, talk about Max Fleur and the club and everything like that, I want to talk about the flashbacks, because obviously they were pretty interesting with a new character being introduced. Now, even though there wasn't a whole bunch of dramatic dun 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 moments in the flash forwards, there was still quite a few setting up moments for next season, next half of the season. Let's just talk about Black Star first. I think her name was Maya. Now, essentially, they found her in more or less a Fight Club thing, like dealing with stress, as she puts it herself. But essentially, William and Dinah wanted to talk to Maya about Felicity and what the heck is going on there, and figure out who Black Star is, because she was the last person who was in contact with Felicity. Now, essentially, the moment I really want to focus on is that when they kind of dropped the information that Felicity was currently dead, she seemed a little bit taken back. Now, I think you guys might know what I want to talk about here, is that the possibility of Black Star or Maya being future Oliver and Felicity's daughter, but yet having a fractured relationship, because she said she sometimes spoke to Felicity and sometimes didn't. Now, if they are actually related and that she is Felicity's daughter, I'm guessing, obviously they don't have the best relationship. She's kind of like her father's daughter, a bit of a badass, but also kind of still saw her mother a little bit and had some things to do with her, especially with the whole Star City plan or whatever. I think she was a badass in that cage fighting match, and I can't wait to find out more about what's going on with her character in obviously the back half of the season, because they obviously found Felicity's plans to do with blowing up Star City in relation to Black Star, so she has something to do with all of that, and I can't wait to see what the deeper meaning is behind this. I was really happy that we got the reveal of what the Mark of 4 means from Dinah in that moment between Dinah and William, and Dinah revealed that the Mark of 4 was actually created by Oliver to represent the 4 pillars of heroism, and that is courage, compassion, selflessness, and loyalty. And they each had one so that if anyone else needed each other, they would like come to the rescue or whatever. And that gave us the context behind as to why, even though Roy was on the island and was just like, screw you, just leave, blah, 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 as soon as he saw that mark in Oliver's bow, he was essentially compelled to help William out and go back to Star City, thus, answering the call of the Mark of 4. But what else was very, very interesting about the flash forward stuff is that conversation between Black Star and Dinah, where, Dinah was kind of pointing the finger at Black Star as to people like her as why Star City is in the shape it's in, and she was just like, oh, well, I heard you had a big part to do as to why the city is the way it is. So, even more stuff to look forward to in the back half of next season. I have no idea what Dinah could have done or what she may have got involved in as a vigilante, which, kind of forged the fallen Star City. But either way, it's exciting and we're going to find out sooner or later. So I would love to know what you guys think down in the comments below as to what Dinah could have done to Star City. But one of the things I'm really looking forward to next season with the flash forwards is what it got left with, I believe, and how they're going to the Glades, and that is where Renee is, because he said he wouldn't be seen dead in Star City, but he's in the Glades. So yeah, we're going to go and find him, figure out what the reason is behind all of that drama that Zoe teased. Isn't like the Glades like some neighborhood in Star City? So like Zoe saying he wouldn't be caught dead in Star City. I guess basically what she meant was not being caught dead outside the Glades in that part of Star City. Now, as for the other stuff in the episode with the reasons as to why Oliver had to get behind the suit, it was like a good storyline. I didn't find it spectacular or anything. We had this arch going around who tried to shoot that guy at the gala or the event that was honoring Oliver or whatever it was. Now, this was really, really not helpful as to, the reasoning behind why the anti-vigilante law exists, because it just makes it look like the copycat Green Arrow was doing this, and Renee was adamant that, she wasn't behind it. But of course, Dinah, Renee, and Oliver looked into it, and that's when they met up with her, and I found that little action sequence when Oliver was chasing after her, that was really, 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 really cool. As I said though, the whole Max Fleur side of things and the club and Oliver going there and getting a bit too close to the investigation, and then a hit even getting put on him, that was cool. What I think it just served really, and the thing that I took out of it is just Oliver being masked up again, or should I say unmasked, because he was back in the Green Arrow suit, which was the highlight really of the episode, apart from like, the Emiko Queen kind of stuff. But it's just the fact that he went out there again as the Green Arrow, which was the cool thing, but also a big thing that I kind of have a little bit of an issue with. So look, I do not have a massive nitpicky gripe with this, but the thing I have an issue with is that Oliver was so easily convinced to get back into the Green Arrow suit despite spending months and months and months in Slabside Prison. He even said this episode that he doesn't want to get into the Green Arrow suit again, and he's going to find another way to protect the city because naturally, otherwise he'll be sent back to prison. Now, obviously, I know he's Oliver Queen. He's going to be back in the Green Arrow suit again. It's who he is. But when that happens, I expect like a more than what we got reason or excuse as to why he can do it than what we got in this episode. I just found it kind of hard to believe that he would do this, even though by this point, Dinah would have already told him, oh, I found a way for you to operate as the Green Arrow if I technically hire you behind the scenes to be a part of the SCPD. But at this point in the episode, when he was going out and threw the guy through the window, he was like getting pictures taken of him by loads and loads of people. He didn't know if that would work out. I think that's the thing that bothers me. It was just one of those moments on TV or on a TV show. I'm sure some of you can relate to this, where they do like a comic book excuse logic or something behind it that isn't too believable, and you're just kind of left with saying, oh, right, of course, like, that's how it happens. And you just kind of have to roll with it for the sake of plot and the TV show, I guess. And I just wanted a better reason behind Oliver being, obviously unmasked, publicly known as the Green Arrow and still operating as the Green Arrow. And that was just like, oh, he's a part of the SCPD now. And yes, I am acknowledging that the reason is kind of sound in terms of plot. Like, there is logic to it, but I just feel like it's just so paper thin that it just kind of bothers me a little bit. Now, don't get me the wrong way. This isn't like a huge thing for me. I just found it kind of silly. I think for the main reason, as what I said, is that they didn't know if it would fully work out. I know Dinah hired him. I know the district attorney, Laurel, who they've got under their wing as well, will obviously back it up. I just felt like, really? For the whole of last season, I think this is also why it was really kind of hard to believe. It was all about Oliver being the Green Arrow and like, how well, we need to stop that because he's a vigilante or whatever. And that was the whole big thing of last season. Now, he's going to be working with the SCPD as a Green Arrow alongside them. And even though that breaks the law technically, it also doesn't at the same time because, oh, he happens to be a part of the SCPD. I just feel like it's not good enough. They could have done better. But the way they pulled it out of the bag with the paper-thin reasoning as to how he can operate as the Green Arrow, as a vigilante basically, but technically not. No, he's an SCPD officer in a way with an arrow and a vigilante Green Arrow costume. It was... Also, I do want to rewind time a little bit back to when the Archer came in the apartment and they tried to kill Oliver. And I really liked was it like Kevlar curtains or something like that? Bulletproof curtains. Felicity's all about the security now, obviously. But the reason why I want to go back in time to this is because naturally this was addressing the whole dark Felicity thing that Oliver came to realize. Now, I did definitely kind of facepalm, I have to admit, when Felicity was saying, I don't know if what's best for me at the moment is what's best for us. I was just like, really? You're going to bring in the whole Felicity drama kind of thing again? I do not want that. I get it though, because at the same time, this does cause a conflict if Felicity's character is changing, and is how Beth Schwartz said, like, the character's actions right now are obviously impacting who they are in the future, and we kind of got this idea of who Felicity is in the future, so you see how that's happening in present day, and obviously, as Oliver pointed out, that kind of impacts their relationship, because that's not the woman he fell in love with. But I don't know, it's just the whole line, I think, where it was just like, oh, is this going to start meddling with the actual integrity of the relationship? Are we really going to address that on screen any episode after that and the episode after that? I really hope not. If that was it, and maybe there's a little bit of more addressing in the next episode when it comes back, and they slowly deal with it, but it's not relationship fracturing, then great. Especially if they obviously have a kid, which it could be Blackstar. But I don't want big drama like in previous seasons, which a lot of people had a problem with. Now, even though I've criticized this episode a little bit and I've said it was a bit lackluster for me, but even though it may not have been lackluster for you, because obviously for me it tied in the whole knowing about Emiko Queen already stuff as well, I do think that this episode did a great job in setting up stuff for next season, as I've already said, with quite a few things already. But there was also one thing I haven't spoke about yet, which was obviously the whole Argus storyline. Now, there was barely any of this in this episode, but they definitely wanted to include it, so we would have some stuff to be like, oh, what's going on there? And that was like how Lila found out this coded message behind the Dante painting that Curtis found out, and how is this different kind of message that was being used as like for different groups or terrorist groups or something like that. Either way, it all led up to this moment where they had to get help because they found out it had something to do with the Longbow Hunters as well. So I have no idea if this means that they might kind of come back, or if they just use them as like a chess piece to link the connections between Diaz. But yeah, Diaz, guys. They went to Diaz, and Diggle was definitely like, yeah, we need to kind of keep this one a secret because obviously this would completely trigger Felicity and Oliver. But I guess in their eyes, they have absolutely no other option in terms of finding out what this Dante kind of message is and what this could mean for all these different groups. And there is one person who definitely know about it, and that is Diaz. Now, why would Diaz give them any information? I have absolutely no idea. Could this lead to some serious drama between, you know, Oliver, Felicity, and Diggle, and Lila, for the fact that they have to use him for this knowledge, and that they're probably going to have to give him something in return that Diaz wants for him to give them information on the Dante painting message. And then, of course, guys, right at the end, we had the Emiko Queen reveal. Even though it didn't say Emiko Queen, we knew that her father is Robert Queen, so she's like the half-sister to Oliver Queen, so they're brother and sister, so drama. I don't know, guys. I wish I was more excited by this. I think it is exciting, like, in, you know, when I think of the future and how this is going to be like, oh, I'm still looking forward to how Oliver finds this out and what this could mean, blah, blah, blah. But it's just the fact that I knew it. Like, as I said at the beginning of this review, I think if I didn't know anything to do with this, then maybe the whole stuff behind Oliver joining the SCPD to still operate as the Green Arrow would have seemed a little bit less bad for me, and I would have been like, oh, this is awesome. So maybe this is why I'm sure, as some of you will probably be like, oh, I disagree with you, Boba, this episode was amazing. That would make sense because you guys might be really, really hyped from all those kind of reveals when you probably thought it was Roy Harper or some other person under the Copycat Green Arrow mask. And that's fair enough. And as I said, I'm not giving this episode a bad review because it did a lot of good things to set up, it did its job. It did a lot of good things to set up next half of the season. But I'm just saying, like, for a mid-season finale, I guess, unless you count, obviously, the Elseworlds crossover, it just felt a little bit like not as good as the last episode, basically. But anyway, guys, that is my thoughts on this episode. Let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below. Did you agree with anything I had to say? Of course, I'm sure some of you would disagree. As I said, do want to put out there, I did not think this episode was bad. Just not what I kind of hoped it would be, I guess, but it was inevitable. Anyway, guys, like this video. If you did enjoy it, of course, subscribe for more Arrowverse videos just like this. But aside from that, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you Vigilantes in the next video. Goodbye.